Hello, hello. I'm popping on a little bit early. I just thought I would pop on to check that the tech was all working before we properly begin. So let me just double check in the group that I'm live. Oh, I seem to be live. That's good. If anyone is watching and could give me a thumbs up or a comment, that would be much appreciated. It's always a bit weird when you go live in a Facebook group for the first time, and this is my first live video in the Biz Magicians community. So um, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy, even more happy, in fact, that you are here, because obviously having you in the group is what makes it so exciting and special. So, um, what I wanted to talk about today was the subject of audience growth, and I'm just going to wait for a moment or two before I actually start doing that because I said I'd be going live about. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. That's always a relief when I see people popping up and I can tell that they can see me. But yes, I said I was going to go live about 1 o'clock my time, GMT, which I'm going to try and go live in this group at various different times so that people in different time zones can access the live videos without too much trouble. I know that we're all over the world, and that way we can all join in. But I will be leaving the live video up, of course, so that if you aren't able to join me live, that's not a problem. You can catch up always. And I apologise in advance for my very stuffy sounding voice, but I have got an absolute stinker of a cold. So just be glad that you can't catch it from me over the internet. At least I don't think you can. So hopefully my voice will hold out and I won't be too croaky as I go through this video. And again, just before starting today's training session, just to say thank you all for being part of this community. So this group started its life as I've got something on my glasses. Started its life as one of my coaching container groups for a coaching container that I ran last year called The Crack That Let the Light In. A number of you in this group originally joined the group because you were part of that container, and then I decided to expand it and open it up into something a bit bigger and broader for more people, and that's what the Biz Magicians community is. So I'm very grateful to all of those of you who've been here since the beginning, and to those of you who have joined since the group was initiated and started. So we're at 1 o'clock, so I'm going to start the community class as planned. And the topic that I chose for this was one that I think is of particular interest, probably to most, if not all of us. Certainly, it should be of interest to all of us in this group, and that is the topic of audience growth. Um, and I know this is a kind of can be anyway. A sort of sensitive area for people because a number of people I speak to in this space, in this kind of entrepreneurial space, particularly those of us who have a kind of soul-based, heart-centered, magically influenced approach, sometimes feel a bit nervous about the whole kind of audience growth thing because and you know, you can tell me if this is something that resonates with you or not. I think many of us in this space are people who feel called to share our particular service, our particular um, healing modality, our coaching program, whatever it is, because we know it can change people's lives. We know it can make a difference to people, but we don't always feel very comfortable with the idea of exposing ourselves and putting ourselves out there. The marketing piece, the piece of actually showing up and selling what we have to share, can be quite challenging. And I think what makes it even more challenging is that we often have this perception in our minds that we need to have this massive audience, we need to be on all the platforms, we need to be posting multiple times a day online, we need to be advertising, we need to be doing all the things in order to make ourselves present and known and available and accessible to the people who might need our help. And really, I wanted to talk about audience growth just to see if I could clarify some of the subject for us, and also hopefully to, if you like, burst some of the myths around audience growth. Because what I hope to show you is that actually, depending on the kind of offer you don't have to have a huge audience to be successful, but you have got some choices to make depending on the kind of offer you have about the type of audience that you need to have. Hi Siri, nice to see you. Glad you could be here. So, so first of all, why speak about audience growth? Why is audience growth important? Well, obviously, if we are marketing in the online space and trying to sell our services in the online space, we need people to market to. And it's really important to know that we're never marketing to everyone. So it can be tempting, I think, when we have something that is really, really. Hi, Michael. Good to see you. When we have something that's really worthy and worth sharing, we want everyone to know about it. We think it will benefit everyone, and in a certain way, theoretically that could be true, but the reality is if you're marketing a service, you are not marketing that service to everyone. You're marketing the service to the people who can most benefit from it, the people who need your help, the people who may want your service because they know about it, but they might also be people who don't want your service because they don't know about it. They don't even necessarily know that they need it, but they do need it. And so your job as an entrepreneur in the online space is to make people aware of your service and what you can offer. And often it's to educate them about what it is they need in order to move forward so that they can see the benefit of your service. They can see that they would benefit from your service. So marketing online really is a simple, fairly simple ecosystem. You have an offer, a course or a coaching program, maybe it's a one-to-one coaching container, healing sessions that you offer. It might be books, it might be art, it might be music, whatever it is you offer that is of benefit to people. Uh, you're selling that, and if you're not yet selling anything, you still have an offer in the form of proximity to you online. So your free content, say, your social media posts that are of benefit to people, your free Facebook group like the one you're in now, um, your email list. Ideally, I certainly recommend that everyone who's trying to market online has an email list. You don't need one immediately, but it's something you should certainly be working up to. All of that is an offer. You're offering people your expertise, your space, your time, and you're getting something in return from them. Ultimately, as an entrepreneur, you will be selling to them, so you'll be offering them a service and receiving money in return. But even before you get to the point of selling, there is still a transaction that's happening. You're offering your expertise, and they are paying you with time and attention, and then ultimately with money. So, uh, so the ecosystem is you have an offer, you need people to accept that offer, you need people to step through the portal of that offer, you need the energetic exchange, and what you're offering them is what they need or and sometimes want, some kind of transformation, healing, maybe it's fitness, increased fitness, maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's increased energy, better sleep, a better relationship, a growing, thriving business, whatever it is, and they are giving you their energy, their money in return. That's the ecosystem. But obviously, in order for it to work, you need people to get close to you and close to your offer so that they know, well, so that they can see the benefit of having it, so that they then want to have this energy exchange with you. They want to purchase your service. They want to give you their time. But in terms of audience growth, the truth of the matter is there's various estimates for this, and depending on which business expert you read, but most come down on the side of saying that about 3% of a person's audience is ready to buy at any one time. 3%. So of all the people who are in your audience now, however big or small that audience is, and I'll say a bit about audience size and type in a second, about 3% of them will be ready to buy from you right now. But that's okay because of that 3%, some of them will be ready to buy pretty immediately, and some of them will need a bit more warming up, but they'll be ready to buy. And some of that 3% will be prepared to spend quite a lot of money with you if you're selling a high ticket offer, say, and some will only be prepared to spend a relatively small amount of money, which is okay if you're offering a low or medium ticket offer. Um, and as I say, you obviously need people to be close to you because it's the people who are closer to you who are more engaged, who are following you on social media, who are resonating with your message, who are really kind of clicking into your message. Um, they are the people who are most likely to buy. They're the people who are following your posts on social, who are subscribing to your emails and are opening those emails and reading them and clicking links in them, who are engaging in your groups, who are responding to your prompts and questions and who are asking you prompts and questions. They're a warmer audience, so they're more likely to be buying from you. So what you're trying to do in audience growth is not necessarily to get the biggest possible audience that you can have, but it's to get more of an engaged audience. And this is really important because some of us in this space, I think probably a higher proportion than average in this magical entrepreneurial space, tend to be quite introverted. I mean, certainly I'm an introvert, which sometimes surprises people because I put myself out online and I have, in my day job, I have several kind of leadership positions. So um, I'm quite often out there in the public eye within my own little community. But nonetheless, I am an introvert, so I need to be very careful about how much time and effort and energy I put into this and how exposed I feel. And it's much more important to me to have a smaller, more engaged audience than it is to have a really large audience that's kind of impersonal, if you like. So, so yes, the key thing here is in terms of audience growth, what's more important than size is engagement level. So bear that in mind as we go through what I'm about to say. But let's just have a look at some simple numbers so that you get a sense of what I mean about the importance of audience size and proximity and so on. So let's just imagine for a moment that you are somebody who sells um, a high ticket offer. So maybe you have a coaching program or something that is, um, let's say it's a coaching program for however long, a certain number of months, maybe a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, and it costs $3,000. I speak in dollars, by the way, because although I'm British, Scottish, um, most of my audience are in America and Canada and so on. So um, I speak in dollars just as the kind of universal currency of online exchange, but convert that to whatever works for your particular currency in your area. But let's say your high ticket offer is worth $3,000. And let's say you have a monthly income target of around $9,000. That would give you just over $100,000 a year income, which is pretty much a baseline I would recommend because by the time you take out things like tax and insurance if you need insurance and you pay your kind of overheads, etc., 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 that's not a huge amount in terms of take-home pay. Um, so let's just, for the sake of this example, let's say that your monthly income goal from your online work is about $9,000. Um, and you have a high ticket offer of 3,000 and 3% of your audience are likely to buy. So in order to get your 9,000 monthly income target, you need to be enrolling 3 people per month into your $3,000 offer, right? 3 people a month times 3,000, that's your 9,000. So that means that you need an engaged audience with a constant flow of new people into it of just about 100 people. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean 100 new people a month, although that would be theoretically doable, but it means a baseline audience of 100 people that is renewing on an ongoing basis. So some people are going out and some new people are coming in. Of that audience of 100 people, with 3% being prepared to buy at any one time, theoretically, you should be able to sell 3 places on your coaching program per month. Now I think that's a surprisingly small audience. Most people think when they're thinking about these high ticket offers that they need to sell, they think they need a huge audience, but not necessarily. Now, there are some things that we're having to presuppose here. One is that that audience is genuinely engaged. So it's an audience of people that you have warmed up appropriately by making sure that your free content is really aligned to what it is you're offering, making sure that any lead magnet that you have offered your audience in order to get them into your audience, ideally onto your email list, is aligned with your offer, that the free stuff that you've been offering has given your people an experience of genuine transformation, that you're building relationships with them, that it's not a distant remote audience, but it's a close connected audience. With all of those factors in place, it would be possible to sell 3 spots on a $3,000 coaching offer every month, and from those 3 sales to make your 9,000 income target of monthly income target of $9,000. Now, if you're selling a lower ticket offer, obviously, in order to get the same return, you're going to need more people in your audience. So let's say that you sell something like a $30 workshop, recorded workshop, or a $30 ebook that comes with an accompanying guided meditation audio, say. I mean, that's a very reasonable offer. That's something that people could quite legitimately pay $30 for. To reach your $9,000 income goal, you would need to sell about 270 copies of that a month in order to get your 9,000. And if that was based on a 3% sales rate, you would need an audience of about 9,000 people at any one time. Now that's more of a stretch. That's a big jump from 100, but it's doable. You know, maintaining an engaged audience of 9,000 on an ongoing basis is doable, with people coming in and going out. Um, so you just get a sense then of the different types of audience engagement and size you would need depending on where your offer was pitched. But most of us, of course, are likely to be selling more than just a single low ticket offer. We might have multiple offers. We might have multiple low ticket offers, or we might have a single high ticket offer. But you can see that in either scenario, you need to have a renewable, engaged audience. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You need an audience that's constantly warmed up, where people are leaving and joining and are, most importantly, engaged with you. That's the key thing, that they're engaged. So let's define audience, because I'm talking about audience, but I haven't actually defined it. Let me take a sip before my voice croaks. So when I say audience, I don't just mean any old person who happens to stumble across you online. I mean people whose data, whose contact details you're collecting in some way, because that's how you can engage with them. That's why I recommend having an email list. At minimum, I would say that to define an audience member, they have to be somebody who's actively following you online, who's chosen to click follow on Instagram or Facebook, or has chosen to join your free Facebook group, like you're part of this, or they've chosen to subscribe to you on YouTube, or whatever it is, wherever your space is. They've chosen to connect with you. They've seen something you've offered, and instead of just, as in free content, and instead of just scrolling past, they've said, oh, this person might have something of use to me, or I like this person. They intrigue me, or they amuse me, or they make me feel seen in some way. I'm going to follow them. So they become part of your audience by following you. Now, obviously, there are different degrees of proximity. So somebody following you on social media is one thing. If they've taken another step and have actually joined a Facebook group that you're curating like this, they've taken another step closer to you. If they've signed up to your email list, they've taken another step closer to you. So audience can be anyone that's following you, ideally people who've actively opted in to be part of your inner circle, if you like. Now, I do recommend having an email list if you haven't already got one. It's very easy to set one up. It doesn't have to be complicated. But if you don't want to do that, if that still feels a bit beyond you, at the very least, you need to have some way of connecting with people on social media. And if you are going to use the social route, let's say on Facebook, then I would recommend something like this, having a group that you can pull people together into. That's a great way of making deeper connections with people, and I'll say a bit about that in a second. So that way, you're building. When we think about audience that we want to build, we're thinking about engaged people, people who are stronger leads, who are a warmer audience. And the reason we're doing that is we want to pull these warmer leads closer to us so they can experience some of our magic and medicine. I call it giving people a taste of transformation ahead of time. So in other words, just by being in proximity to our free stuff, the things we share online, our content, our free videos like this, people can experience insight, growth, understanding that gives them a taste of the kind of transformation you can offer them with your deeper paid for offers. And the reason this works is very logical, isn't it? It means that when you then make an offer, whether it's a low ticket offer or a high ticket offer, you're likely to get a warmer response because people have a sense of, yes, this person has something that can actually benefit me, and I've experienced some benefit already. So it's less of a stretch, it's less of a leap. Now, you probably will have to do more work and more kind of bridging work to sell a higher ticket offer. But if you've given some people some free content online that they have found valuable, I can tell you with 100 million% confidence that it will not be difficult for you to sell a fairly low ticket off a $27 course, even all the way up to, I don't know, $97, under $100. For many people, will be a no-brainer, almost kind of impulse buy, especially from somebody that they already trust online because they've had some value. And lots of entrepreneurs tell me, when I speak to them, my coaching clients and so on, tell me that they think things aren't working because when they make an offer of some sort, they get crickets, they get no response. They put an offer up on their website or maybe in a social media link somewhere, um, or maybe they do email out to their list if they have a list, and they don't get much of a response. They get crickets. And when somebody comes to me with that kind of issue, of course we explore why that is. And I can tell you that the most common reason for crickets, apart from, there might be some issues of alignment if the offer isn't properly dialed in terms of what's valuable to your ideal client, etc. There can be some technical stuff in terms of the ecosystem that isn't quite aligned. But by far and away, the most common reason for crickets is revealed when I ask them the question, what have you done to grow and nurture your audience? And very often people will say, well, not really anything. I haven't actually grown my audience recently. It's the same people that have been on my list for 10 years. Nobody knew. And when did I last email them? Well, maybe a couple of months ago. You know, you get crickets because people aren't engaged. It's not surprising. So it's not just about audience growth, it's about audience nurturance as well. So I'll say a bit about how we do that in a second. But another common cry that I hear from people, and some of you watching this now might be thinking this, but I don't have an audience. There's nobody to start building from. I haven't got an audience. I'm right at the beginning. Well, that's not true. You have got an audience. Now, your audience might be just especially if you're new, might be your Facebook friends, family, work colleagues, old and new. Um, Now, I'm not suggesting, by the way, that you start spamming all of your friends and family and so on with your business ventures, but the assumption that we often make is that people who are already close to us are not interested in our work, and it's just not true, because there will be some people who are closer to you than and who are interested in your work, who are more interested than you might think, and they will know people who are going to be interested in your work. So it's so important, even if you think you don't have an audience, even if you think the only people you've got around you are people who know you from another life, as it were, and don't really know you're into all this kind of entrepreneurial stuff online, maybe they don't even know you're trying to build a business, it's so important to get over the fear of sharing yourself and what you have to offer, because that's where it starts. That is where it starts. You know, you start making people aware that you have got something to offer, a coaching program or a book or um, training of some sort, whatever it is, or a course that you're developing, or a free Facebook group or an email list. And it's, you put a post on social media saying, I've set up an email list and it's for people who are interested in improving their thyroid health. You know, please sign up if you're interested, and if you're not interested, but you know somebody who might be interested, let them know about it. You would be amazed at how many people you can get connected to you just by doing that kind of post. There can be a bit more nuance to it in terms of how you present it and in order to increase engagement, but that's the basics. You put yourself out there and it can feel uncomfortable, but you begin to grow your audience organically that way. So I always say to people, start from where you are now and don't make the assumption that you don't have an audience, because you do. So let's have a look at how we can grow our audience. So what are the ways of growing our audience? So there are hundreds and hundreds of different strategies for growing an audience in both the online space and the real world space, if you like. But there are two main ways plus an extra little bonus way. So the two main ways are organically building an audience, which is much of what we've talked about so far, and the other way is buying an audience by advertising your services, yourself, your free offers, your paid for offers, etc. And then the third way, the kind of bonus way, is borrowing someone else's audience, and I'll say about that in a second. But let's have a look at the first couple of ways. So building an audience is about organic growth, and that's really what we've been talking about so far. So it's the easiest, most obvious way. It's the way, if you're an absolute beginner, that it's good to start with. You start, as I've just described, from your own social media profile. You post consistently. You start talking about the subject that you are presenting yourself as an expert in. You make sure the content that you're posting is genuinely useful and engaging. You interact online in groups and with other people to find your ideal client. So you do some work to identify who your ideal client is, and then you become friends with those people. Again, it does not have to be done in a spammy way. It doesn't have to be done in a kind of cold calling kind of way. It can be as simple as just checking out who online that you're connected with is interested in what you have to offer, and add those people as friends. Engage in appropriate groups and make friends that way. Set up an email list and invite people to it, promote it, make it available, create a lead magnet which you can then use to draw people into your list. I've got my guide at the moment, Magnetize, which is available to you if you want to get started with that. If you haven't already got a copy of Magnetize, just drop an emoji or a comment in the comments below and I'll get a copy to you. That shows you how to set up and market a lead magnet so you can get people onto your list or into your social media orbit. You can run a free workshop or event to give people a taster of what you offer online. It could, and in real life. It doesn't all have to be online. You can do it in real life as well. Um, you can make sure there's a sign up form on your website if you have a website to get people onto your list. You can make sure all your social media profiles are updated with sign up links to any free uh, opt-ins you have. Um, you know, you can do all of that, and it's a great way of growing an audience. It's a little bit slow compared to some of the other ways, so buying an audience can be quicker. But there's nothing wrong with building an audience organically, and especially for those of us who are um, introverted, it can be one of the most comfortable ways because we can feel our way, and we can kind of lean into what's working. So when we start to get a response to something and it's a positive response, we do more of that. If we do something that feels a bit uncomfortable, too uncomfortable, we pull back from that. So, it's a great, especially also if you don't really know, you might have a feeling that you want to be an entrepreneur online, you want to share something, but you're not entirely sure exactly how that will look. The process of growing and building an audience organically can be a great way of allowing that to emerge from you. But at some point, you'll probably get frustrated and want to grow faster, particularly when you get more defined in what you're offering and you're clearer about who you are, you're clearer about what your offer is, and you're clearer about who you're serving and who that offer can help. You'll possibly then want to move on to buying an audience through adverts or borrowing an audience. So buying an audience, well, as I say, that's about advertising. That's about paying money to get your content in front of people who need it. Now, I'm not an expert in advertising. I've done a little bit of it myself, but not a huge amount. What I can tell you, though, and there's nothing wrong with starting with advertising. If you want to go straight out of the gate into advertising, that's absolutely okay. And you can advertise service directly. So you could advertise, um, spots on your calendar for discovery calls if you're a coach, for example. You could advertise healing sessions. So you could do that. You could advertise your service directly, or you could advertise something that gets people into your orbit, maybe like a lead magnet or a free workshop or something that just gets people onto your list. Or you could advertise pieces of content. You could advertise a blog article or a YouTube video that offers value and that will help demonstrate your expertise. They're all legitimate things to advertise in order to get people into your orbit. What I would say is that um, if you are going to advertise, you need to be really clear about several things. You need to be clear about what your offer is. You need to be clear about who your audience is, because if you're not clear, advertising can be tricky because you don't quite know who you're speaking to. You don't know quite what you're saying, and it's a very expensive way to discover that you aren't quite as aligned as you thought you were. So if you're really clear about what you have to offer and you want to go straight into advertising, it's a great way to grow fast. If you're not very clear about what you have to offer or who you're speaking to, then I'd suggest the organic route first. The third way to think about promoting yourself and building and growing your audience is by borrowing an audience from someone else. And what that means is, excuse me as I sniff my way through this cold, what that means is it's still organic growth, still organic marketing, but this is about leveraging another person's audience, ideally a sizable audience. So this is about, for example, finding people who are active in your niche, maybe who already have an established audience and also a platform like a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog, and pitching yourself to them and saying, would you like to interview me on your podcast? I can offer the following. This is what I'm an expert in. This is what I have to say. Or can I write a guest blog for your blog? When I promoted my first book, How to Find Your Vital Vocation, which was way back in 2013, I had to work out when it was then. I published it just before the day before, in fact, my 40th birthday. That was a target I set myself. I will have written and published my first book by the time I'm 40, and I did it with a day to spare. And one of the ways that I promoted that book was I did a blog tour. So I guest posted on a number of different blogs in my niche, which at that time was career coaching. And so I got in front of other people's audiences. It was a great way of getting in front of people who might be interested in my work. So you can do something like that. You could pitch yourself to the local media. You know, if you're an expert in a particular topic and there are reporters who want to write about that topic, you can pitch yourself to them. You could do media interviews. Um, you know, there are different ways of doing it. A key thing you need to make sure if you do that is that you have a way for the people who see you when you're doing that and who are interested in what you have to offer, that you have a way of getting them into your audience. And that, of course, is again why I recommend an email list. But at the very least, you want to let them know about your social media profiles. But if you can get them into closer proximity through a Facebook group or an email list, so much the better. But you want the people who see you or hear you in the people in another person's audience who see you or hear you for the first time and who like what they hear or see, you want to give them a way of staying connected with you. So make sure all of that is dialed in. So those are the kind of three ways: organically building an audience, advertising, buying an audience, and borrowing another person's or people's audience. Those are three broad ways, two main ways and an extra one, but three broad ways of growing your audience. So, just to begin to wrap this up, because I don't want to keep you too long, what are the factors for success in growing an audience? I've touched on some of them as I've gone through, but I'll just reiterate. Clarity of focus. So you need to be clear on what you offer and how people can benefit from that offer. Ideally, you need to be clear on your ideal client so you know who you're talking to. That then will come across in all of your copy. It'll come across in what you say on podcasts. It'll come across what you say on YouTube, if you're on YouTube or being interviewed on YouTube. It'll come across, all your social media posts, your email newsletters, etc., etc. So be clear on your ideal client. Be clear on your offer in terms of what it is, who it's for, what it does for them, what's different about it, why does it stand out, why does it offer something different to the other similar offers out there. So clarity of focus on your offer and the person you're offering it to is really important. Another clarity of focus you need, or clarity of goal you need, is in terms of what is your goal in terms of audience building. How much growth do you want? How fast do you want to grow? How many new people per month do you want to introduce into your audience? Where do you want to do all of this? Where do you want to grow? Do you want to grow on social? Do you want to grow on email? Do you want to grow in both? And again, just a reminder, size is not unimportant, but more important than size is relationships. I've sold a lot of workshops, coaching programs, etc., with a relatively small audience, and I've made a lot of money from a relatively small audience. So volume is not quite so important as relationships. And again, just to reiterate until you're sick of hearing me say it, this is why I recommend having an email list, or at the very least having engaged social media options for your people. Another thing to think about is what's worked for you in the past. If you've done some audience growth in the past, what's worked? What did people engage with? If you can identify that, you can do more. So, a broad tip in terms of success factors I would give you is start from where you are and with what you can manage. So think about what would you enjoy and what wouldn't you enjoy. I mean, I enjoy this kind of thing. I enjoy my Facebook group because I enjoy connecting with people online. I love my email list because I enjoy writing. I love hearing from people via email. So I focus on those. So what would you enjoy and what wouldn't you enjoy? How fast do you want to grow? Bearing in mind it's all work. None of it's easy, but some of it can be easier if you're enjoying it. So find that sweet spot for you. But don't forget the basics. And the basics are regular content that's useful, I talk about a 4-step kind of mantra to help people think about what they're doing online. Show up, stand out, serve, then sell. So show up as in actually do the thing of being present online. If you're choosing to be an online entrepreneur, be an online entrepreneur. Don't sit in your bedroom never going online wishing you had more followers. That's not going to work. So show up, be present. Stand out, not in a kind of spammy artificial way, but stand out by being yourself. By being more of yourself. I posted about this on social media the other day and in the group. Be more of yourself because that's what will help you to stand out to other people. Serve, make your content useful, offer transformation ahead of time, give people genuine help in your free content. And then when you come to sell, the whole process is much easier. And the selling, instead of feeling sleazy and scammy and uncomfortable, it feels just like, to you and to your people, it feels like an extension of your service because they've already been through this process of growth and help from you. Okay, so that's the kind of success factors. I'm going to close by giving you a little bit of a challenge, a task, if you like, if you're up for it. And maybe at some point I'll do an actual proper challenge around this. If you'd be interested in that, let me know. But just as a kind of rough and ready challenge for you, here's what I suggest. Decide what you want to focus on for the next month, say. So if you're brand new and you don't have a very warm audience yet, you might want to start with building your authority in your particular space. So get content out there, get some consistent content out there. Think about how you're presenting yourself online. What's your brand? What's your presentation? It doesn't have to be a great big highfalutin concept. Just think about how you're presenting yourself online. Get some useful content out there, a bedrock of material, so that anyone finding you will see various things and go, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. They've got some good Facebook posts. They've got some good blog articles or podcasts or YouTube videos or whatever it is. Don't try and do it all. Just focus in on one area that you're comfortable with. So that could be one thing. If you already have an existing audience that just needs refreshing or reviving, re-nurturing, if you like, then you might again focus on the content, but do a bit of a list growth at the same time. So actually promote a lead magnet, for example. Get some new people into your audience at the same time. If you're in a real hurry, you could do 2 weeks of each. You could do 2 weeks of focusing on your content, uh, getting your social media profiles all dialed in, reactivating your list by emailing them several times a week with some useful material over that 2 week period. And then for the next 2 week period, you'd continue to do that. And you would maybe offer something new to grow your audience, like a lead magnet, or run a free event and ask people to sign up for it. Maybe you would experiment with advertising, etc., etc. But just think about what you want to focus on for the next month and just be clear about what your goal is. Think about what platform you want to focus on. So maybe you think, I'm actually just going to not worry too much about social. I'm going to focus on reactivating my email list or just setting up an email list. And then think about what actions do you need to take to prepare for all of that. So if you're focusing, for example, on borrowing an audience, you might decide actually what I need to do next is I need to research where is my audience? Where are the podcasts I could pitch myself to? Where are the YouTube channels? Who are the people? How can I build a relationship with them? What are their contact details, etc. And then also think about what are the technical things you need to set up. So if you want to grow your social media profile, where are you on social? Is your profile dialed in? If you're on Facebook, are you using the professional profile or not? Are you prepared to market through your personal profile, which I certainly recommend. I'll talk about that another time. So think about that. If you need to advertise a lead magnet, how are you going to create it? Use my magnetized guide. Comment below if you need it. If you need to set up a landing page for opt-ins, where will you do that? There are various options. If you want to get your social media profile on point, how will you do that? What links will you use? Where will you make a banner that advertises what you have to offer, etc.? Those are the basics. So think about what you want to focus on for the next month and really lean into doing it for a month and see how fast you grow. So there you are. If you want to share what you are going to focus on for the next month, feel free to do that in the comments below. If you need any help, ask questions in the group, reach out, and just to reiterate, if you are interested in using a lead magnet to grow your audience, which is a very good way of doing that for a whole number of different reasons, then make sure you've got a copy of my magnetized guide. Many of you have already got it. If you haven't already got it, comment below. I will get you a link to it. So that, my friends, is our little live video, our impromptu community class for the day. And I hope it's been useful to you. Thank you very much for being here, those of you who have been here live. And great, Michael, you're going to focus on building the email list. Great. I think if somebody was to say to me, of all the different things I could do online to really maximize my chance of ongoing entrepreneurial success, and I could only do one, what would I do? I would say focus on building your list, especially if you enjoy writing, and especially if you enjoy engaging with people. It's a brilliant way of doing it. So I think that's a fantastic way of doing it. And Siri, I'm glad that you're enjoying the guide. And there's just the thing to remember is keep it simple. Even the simple actions can have huge results, and it's very easy to do a simple lead magnet that is useful to people. And yes, the guide has information in there about doing that. So thank you all, and I'll see you again very soon. I enjoyed this. I think we'll do more of these community classes. So let me know if there's any other topics you would like me to cover, and we can certainly look at that. Take care of yourselves. See you soon. Bye.